Right, guys, we're going to do episode 6. But before we jump into the episode, A, I'm going to tell you about this, and B, I'm going to tell you where I was wrong about the curtains in one of the other episodes. So, can you all, guys, go and pre-order the book In the Service of the Shogun, The Real Story of William Adams? Now, this guy here, this Frederick, is actually the historical advisor. I've recently done an interview with him. We're just working out what to do with the footage, and he's a great researcher. He's a professor in Japan. So please do get yourself a copy of In the Service of the Shogun, and let's have a look at episode 6. Okay, episode 6. We're on. Ladies of the Willow Land. Let's go. So I like this. So in Japanese culture, we have, in a lot of the reports, let me start again. I do really like the Jesuit accounts and the early accounts of Japan, especially from the absolute, they were eyewitnesses. And we all know you've got to be careful with eyewitness accounts, but still they're an amazing source. And the idea of the different levels of bowing to the floor, bowing midway, and basically nodding your head and not bowing to someone else. You know what I mean? The sort of who gives the lower bow. And I do like this idea there. And you see this guy here, not wearing a katana inside, perfect. I love that. He's sort of most programs put them with katanas in, but they leave them in a storeroom at the outskirts most of the time. It is a difficult subject, this one. Can you have a katana in or out of the house? But this is really good, this. I like this. I think this is meant to be Nobunaga. I'm not sure. I'm not quite in there yet. We're just getting a flashback scene. But I think this is Nobunaga, and he's beheading monks. Now, there will be, as I've said before, there's going to be an interview coming out with the historical advisor, and one of the things that was talked about is how they're, just for ease and just for the way it's gone, they've used a more Edo period style sword holding, whereas actually there'd be a lot more taches here and a bit more variation on the swords. Okay, women fighting. Right. This is one of those contested points at today's cinema or today's media, because we do, in fairness, get really quite annoyed with the sort of the female who can beat all the men and she's just amazing and all that. But there was definitely fighters in Japan. There was absolutely fighters in Japan. No problem about that, female fighters. But we do, like everything, you get the rules in life and you get what actually happens in life. And military manuals tell us that you should never take women to war. They've got too much yin energy in from Inyo, and that they will bring problems to the army. But we also know that prostitutes and camp followers followed to, satisfy the men. So this idea that there are great samurai warriors who went around with armies is very sort of like on the edge of maybe there was a couple here or there. And yes, women did fight when they had to fight. There are ample cases where the men had been defeated or they got a brigade of women out to go and fight, no problem. So this did happen, but it's got to be done in a way that is not like, oh, the women are the greatest champions and they're the warrior, they're the hero or heroines of it. But let's see. The naginata as well was still, I think, being used by men in the Sengoku period. It starts to taper out now because it becomes less useful on a packed battlefield when a Yari straight spear is by far more practical. Okay, I know this is hard to see, guys, because it's a dark screen. But basically, Anjin, the main character, has been promoted. Now, he was Hatamoto, which means like close bodyguard, companion in a compound, if you like, bannerman. But he's been, remember, he gave his swords away to Torinaga when he had fallen in the earthquake. But it's days later. They are in like a field with fire. They're doing a pre-battle speech or something, and he's being awarded some more swords. I personally would, and he's got no swords on him, and he puts the swords in. I personally would say he would definitely, as Hatamoto, be wearing swords. So if I was to change this scene, I would have the announcement of his promotion given, then his squire would come up, take his old swords away, and get these new ones in. Now you would say, hold on, he gave his swords to Torinaga. Yes, but there is no way he would walk around as Hatamoto or be allowed to walk around as Hatamoto without having a pair of swords on him. So I would have slightly changed this scene. Okay, so the engine's just come up and brilliantly it takes his sword out and puts it at his side. Now, one of the questions that I don't know the answer to, guys, is which side he would put his sword on in this situation. We get a lot of modern martial arts and a lot of peace martial arts where people say, oh, you put it on the right side to show peacefulness and you're not going to attack, or you put it on the left side to put it on, to show you can defend yourself. Now, I'm going to be honest with you, I have no idea what they would do in the Sengoku period. Does a warrior need to show he can defend himself, or does he need to show he's not going to attack? I really, really don't know. And it's one of those questions that haunts me because you'd need some good documentation for this, or at least some good imagery. So I don't know. What do you think, guys? I don't know if it's the editor or the director change. I don't know. I haven't really paid attention to the editors or directors change, but the editing seems really, really good in this one. They've just had the no drama scene and there's the flashback scenes, and it just seems really well done. Like, close-ups on the medicine grinding, the memories coming through. It just feels different, and it feels I think I prefer this type of editing. I know, I'm sorry, guys, I can't show you what I'm talking about because you get a strike here. But if you've watched this episode 6, then you'll know what I'm talking about. It really is edited very well. There's not a load to say in this episode, guys, because it's more about the political point and the women. So there's not so much, of things that we've not already mentioned, or, it's very few characters in closed rooms. So there's not much to say. But I must say it's wonderful. He's going to the tea house. He's ordered a courtesan, or he's been given a courtesan as a gift. She's obviously a sex worker, basically, but a very highly paid sex worker. And it's just very nice to see the dynamics of how it all works. They're sort of bidding on the price that she's going to cost him and things like that. So this is quite lovely for you guys to see sort of how Japanese culture would unfold in the old days. Sorry, guys, I'm trying to catch the scene for you, but she's pouring sake out of like what looks like a teapot, and I misunderstood this in the trailer. I thought it was somebody pouring tea, but it's pouring sake, so it's really nice. Something I don't really know much about is the sake containers, and how you would pour sake, the refined arts. So this is good from the historical advisor Frederick. It's opened my eyes to something new. I need to now look into how sake was poured. So we know about the tea ceremony, but we now got to learn about the sake ceremony. Okay, guys, the brothel scene is probably one of the best. No, it is the best scene in the entire Shogun so far. There's no sex. There's no swinging from the chandeliers, naked dancing women. It was majestically put together. It was superb, and it was how Japan really would be. One of the problems they've got with this show to capture old Japan is the multi-layers of Japanese society. They don't say things directly. Things are said very indirectly. And the courtesan went out of sight and spoke, so the translator was speaking her words, but the courtesan was saying things that she knew the translator wanted to say. So it appeared that the translator was actually saying them. It was very, 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 very well done. Guys, that is a lovely build-up and a lovely payoff. That is proper television. Well done to the show. In the Sengoku period, well, in the Edo period, any period, this should, if I remember rightly, have... Oh, sugar, sorry, guys. This should have a little wooden window in it with paper, and the light goes inside, and the reason you don't see these anymore is because they are sort of just been destroyed by wind and rain and weather, and they don't seem to be replaced. But whenever you go back to the old images of old Japan, they tend to have a wooden window in these and little wooden bits so that the light flickers and it doesn't blow out. So I don't know. Again, I don't know if there's any that never had them in, but this is, you can see it's got the slot for the window. I remember looking into this, so let me know if I'm wrong on anything, guys. I don't mind, but I think I'd have put the old paper window in that. Okay, I'm really impressed with the field constructions, the tents and everything, very good. As I said at the beginning, the curtains have the symbols on, and I I misremembered it. It's screens that do not have them on. The curtains have them on. But my question would be, is there seems to be only his cam on. I wonder about the other factions, because other clans, it's one of those things I'm not quite sure of. You see the cam on across all the army, but what about each individual's cam on? How prevalent is that? So, you know, does everybody wear Tokugawa's crest? Or does only the Tokugawa clan wear their crest when they're allies? That's a good question. How are crests put together when all the armies come together? Because looking at this, every flag has the Tokugawa crest on it. But actually, there's many families coming together here. So where are the other crests? Or does his take precedence and it's the only one used? This is something I've now got to try and research. Okay, guys, I'm trying to find the soundtrack, but it's only on MP3 at the minute. I would love to get it on vinyl, so let's hope that comes out by vinyl. Right, guys, that's let's have a look now at where I was wrong. Okay, guys, throughout the video I've been hinting at something I was wrong at. So in one of the other episodes I talked about how the curtains, the maku, the war curtains, jinmaku, were sat around the encampment and they had the crests on, and I said the curtains don't normally have the crests on, or so we've been told, but actually I got an email from the historical advisor for the show. Anthony, no, wrong. And I was wrong, guys. I was wrong. I had misremembered a quote from the book we did, which is Samurai War Stories, and this has 3 or 4 translations in it, and one of them is from Zohyo Monogatari from about 1650, and it talks about what the things you can and cannot have your crest on. And you, according to this document, it says you shouldn't have your crest on anything heavy. And one of the examples is screens. So any heavy screens don't have your crest on it, because you have to then carry it away, you know, if you defeated in war or there's a fire, and you don't want your crest to fall into enemy hands. So I remembered screens as curtains. So it says crests were okay on curtains, but not okay on screens. And in the 6 or 7 years since I've read this book, they have swapped places, or at least merged into each other. So I am very sorry. Bad Anthony. So thank you very much to Frederick, the actual historical advisor, and don't forget you can get a copy of his book, In the Service of the Shogun. So get yourself a copy of that. And we're up to episode 6. We've got a few more episodes to go. Wonderful. Let's crack on, and there will be floating about somewhere soon an interview with me and Frederick, which was kindly hosted by the advertisers for Disney Plus. So we're looking forward to that. We've just got to work out which platform it's going on first, and that should be up shortly.